What's up, YouTube? This is YB back with another video. Today, I'm doing something that always sparks a debate. I am ranking every Scream movie in the franchise using a tier list. From the groundbreaking original to the newest installment, Scream 7, the Scream franchise has always managed to stay relevant for 3 decades. But I'm just going to be blunt. Not all the movies in the series hit the same. Some are classics, and some are not. So today, you're going to see where I place each film, and some may surprise you. So let's begin. First up is Scream 1996. See, this is the one, the standard, the prodigal son. Scream not only revived the genre, it completely reinvented it. Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven perfectly crafted and balanced humor, horror, and self-awareness. It is a terrifying slasher and a satire. Scream also made me feel like every character brought something to the table and also mattered. The opening scene was something that we never seen before and set the tone for the rest of the film. We felt there was no plot armor and anyone could be a victim when we seen A-lister Drew Barrymore is the opening kill. Billy and Stu are the blueprint for the most iconic duo in the franchise and giving us chaos throughout the film. Scream also sets Sidney Prescott up to become one of the greatest final girls in horror history. Not because she's invincible, but because she is vulnerable and human. Scream remains one of my favorites in the franchise and has endless rewatchability. This one definitely deserves to be in the S tier. Next is Scream 2, 1997. Look, I love Scream 2. It definitely expanded the franchise and took the meta element even further. The opening scene with Jada Pinkett and Omar Epps is one of the most iconic moments in history, especially with fans thinking her death is part of the show. Sydney's evolution shines in this entry. She comes off as she's no longer trying to survive, but refuses to let these events define who she is as a person. We also got one of the smartest Scream characters in history in Joel, who got the hell out of Dodge. The third act, in my opinion, was one of the best in the franchise, where we did get a fake out where Mickey introduces the second killer. Now, we initially see Gail, but then it ends up being Mrs. Loomis. Along with the performances of Gail, Dewey, and Cotton, Scream 2 is one of the bright spots in this franchise. And I'm going to put this one in the A tier. Scream 3 came at an interesting time in 2000. A lot was happening at that point. There was a lot of controversy regarding media violence, especially after what happened in Columbine, and I believe that this movie suffered because of it. Now, Scream 3 did not have that same edge and personality as the previous two entries up until that point. And some of the kills did lack impact, and at times the movie felt like a punchline. But don't get me wrong, this film is still solid. I did like the setting of the film being in Hollywood, where they are filming the latest movie in a movie. It only seemed like it was the most logical choice, as the previous two entries kept poking fun of a movie being made about the events of the previous two films. Also, I loved how it critiques Hollywood and tries to exploit traumas and violence for entertainment. The tension that we got in both Scream 1 and 2 was sacrificed for humor that we got in Scream 3. However, the performances by the OG3, as well as newcomers Jennifer and Detective Kincaid, were also bright spots. Also, Roman's reveal as the franchise's only solo killer is still controversial to this day. Him being the true mastermind behind everything did come off as a little forced, and I believe that it does take a little away and weaken the terror that Billy and Stu brought in the original film. And by saying that, I'm going to go ahead and put this one in the C tier. Now, this one may be divisive amongst fans, and that's okay. I believe that Scream 4 was ahead of its time. It came at a point where social media was beginning to take shape, and its commentary on fame and self-inflicted victimhood perfectly describes on what you see nearly every day when we open our favorite apps. Jill Roberts, I thought, was one of the more unique killers because of what she represents. And that's the quest to be seen and famous by any means necessary. which includes killing her own mother just so she can be like Sydney. Her reveal was shocking and horrifying as she sold out and killed her own partner. Also, I would have loved to see what would have happened if they kept the original ending, where Jill did survive and in the sequel, she becomes famous and then stalked by another Ghostface. One negative, I believe, is some of the supporting characters were underwritten and they were there for body count, but Scream 4 also gave us another fan favorite in Kirby and another great performance by the OG3. Scream 4, I believe, has aged like fine wine, and that's why it's gonna be in the A tier. To me, Scream 5 is a legacy sequel that understands the assignment of Scream, and it does play it safe, which is not necessarily a bad thing, especially returning after 11 years. Scream 5 had to prove that it was still a player in the horror genre, and I think that it accomplished that. The opening scene with Tara being attacked but not dying was different for the franchise, but a welcoming one. Also, I love the way they tackle requels as it understands the modern culture of franchises. Also, Scream 5 shifted to main character Samantha Carpenter, which was risky. And in my opinion, I think that it paid off because the story of her being a daughter of Billy and his legacy was compelling. And it actually made me forget that Sidney Prescott was relegated to more of a background character. Ghostface was physically brutal and vicious. Dewey's death was polarizing and it was emotional, and gave the film stakes, and it was a turning point for the series. Richie and Amber's killer reveal and motivation of the franchise being quote unquote ruined was clever, but it wasn't as shocking as previous entries. But nonetheless, Scream 5 is a good entry. And let's go ahead and put this one at a B. Scream 6 is probably the boldest and arguably the most aggressive in the franchise. By taking Scream 6 to New York City, it's already setting itself apart because you are bringing a franchise to one of the most aggressive cities in the world. That alone made the film unpredictable and giving us a sense of urgency. With Ghostface making appearances in bodegas and subways, it made the threat feel widespread. Scream 6 gave us our fair share of suspense, especially with the latter scene as Ghostface tries to break in the room. Some may not have liked it, but the bodega scene where Ghostface uses a shotgun shows how brutal this version really is. The subway scene is what really stands out for me. Being in a crowded, confined area with other people wearing costumes and not knowing if it's the killer or not gave me a sense of dread. Now, this Ghostface was brutal and relentless. No theatrics, just straight pursuing its targets. Scream 6 also dived more into the psychological element like we got in Scream 5, and it showed us how trauma can linger over time. For me, I thought that the third act was weak. The killer reveal did not break much ground, and it also had a lot of plot armor where too many characters survived, including Chad, who was treated like a human pincushion. However, Scream 6 is still a good film, and I think B would be a good ranking for this film. Finally, we have Scream 7. Look, I really tried to like this film, and as my last video mentioned, there are some aspects I did enjoy. I love the dynamic between Sydney, Mark, and Tatum. Gail was also pretty good. And even on the phone, Matthew Litter as Deep Fake Stu was pretty good. Even some of the kills were good. But that's where it stops for me. The lack of character development with Tatum's friends group, Chad and Mindy I feel being shoehorned in the movie, and more importantly, the disappointment of the killer reveal made this entry feel off. It seems like with the controversies, cast changes, and uncertainty about the direction of the story, Scream 7 feels like the most unstable entry the franchise has had. And as this one hurts me to do, I'm going to put this one at D. And there you have it. That's my Scream franchise tier ranking. But now I want to hear from you. How would you rank the franchise? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy horror rankings like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and join me here on Flicks and Real Horror. Until next time.